Alright, so how are y'all doing today? So my name is Ryan Mulcairn, and for this project we're going to be discussing competition and barriers to entry. So, before we get started, what exactly is competition? In economic theory, perfect competition, which is the baseline model that everybody uses, is all markets in which no buyer or seller can significantly affect the market price. They are price takers, even if the market is not perfectly competitive, which it usually isn't. But for the sake of what we're talking about right here, let's just assume that all markets are perfect. And what makes them perfect? All right, so in a perfect competition market, you have to have free entry and free exit, which means any firm can enter or exit the market whenever they choose. And this is going to occur if the long-term economic profit is greater than zero, company is going to want to enter the market. If long-term economic profit is equal to zero, an incumbent company will stay in the market. And if long-term economic profit is less than zero, a company will exit the market. However, we almost never see free entry anywhere, and that is because of these little things called barriers to entry. And they're exactly what they sound like. So, barrier to entry. It's a cost that must be incurred by a new entrant into a market that incumbents do not need to incur. So, like, what are these things? Where do they come from? I mean, why do they even exist? Like, what are they there for? So, these can come in many shapes and sizes, like intellectual property, such as patents, trademarks, you got customer loyalty, strong brand identity, predatory pricing, startup costs and the capital associated with it, research and development, economies of scale, inelastic demand, and government regulation. And all these here are going to limit the competition in a market because no one can get into the market if they have to overcome these significant obstacles to get in. And that is where Porter's five forces come in. So Michael Porter was a renowned economist at Harvard Business School. And his theory is when you're looking to establish yourself in a market and start up a business, you need to look at five factors to determine if the market is sustainable in the long term. So you need to look at the bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of suppliers, the threat of substitutes, the threat of new entrants, and industry rivalry and competition. So for our part, we're going to focus on the last two, the threat of new subs, new entrants, and industry rivalry. So his argument is from a business standpoint, a perfectly competitive market is bad for long-term profitability. That's because anybody can enter any time and any moment. So what you want to do as a business is actually create your own barriers to entry. If you can limit the competition, then you're going to create more market share for yourself. And in theory, if you have more market share, you're going to be more profitable. Now, how do you do this? All right, so for example, you can create switching cards. Think of cell phone providers, what they do. They create these 1 and 2 year contracts, and if you leave within the contract, the termination fee is so high, you'd actually rather stay with the company than pay that termination fee. Or you could do what the pharmaceutical industry does and establish patents so nobody else can manufacture your products. And all these types of barriers of entries that you're going to create, you're actually going to establish your own market conditions that aren't perfectly competitive, in which you have more power, market share. Like an oligopoly, a small group of firms in a market with substantial barriers to entry. Think back to cell phone providers. It's impossible for a new provider to enter the market just because startup costs are so high. Or monopoly, when you are the only supplier of a good which exists, and there is no close substitute. And you don't even have a supply curve. It's unlimited in a monopoly. Or you could have a market structure where there's monopolistic competition, where firms have market power, but no additional firms can enter and earn positive economic profits in the long run. So, all in all, that is how you're going to use barriers to entry in your business to limit competition, create more market share for yourself, and make yourself become more profitable with no threat of new entrants.